Dad, it seems like you're very ambitious and you really know how to get what you want. Seems like you really stay
I mean,
on.
I didn't want to fail. Put it that way.
Yeah, but
I
that's
think
a strong...
I wanted to, if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it right.
Yeah, you have a strong mindset.
I wanted to figure it out. And then, you know, I made a lot of decisions along the way that, you know, some people might find regrettable. I don't. But for example, I was offered a huge contract at Warner Brothers in 1978. I was offered what they called the Clint contract, which is that Clint Eastwood had been given the same contract years before. And that contract has kept Clint Eastwood at Warner Brothers for the last 35, 40 years. And I was offered this contract, and I knew what the movies were that they had in the pipeline. And because I knew somebody at Warner Brothers, I was aware that if I'd signed this contract, I would be starring in these movies that I just didn't like at all. And so I turned the contract down. And they said to me that I was in the president of the studio's office. I went in to sign the contract, and it was at the signing that I decided not to sign the contract. It pissed everybody off.
I'm sure.
But the guy running the studio at the time was a guy named Shapiro, Robert Shapiro. Bob Shapiro, they called him. And he said to me when I stood up and walked out of the room, I said, "I'm sorry, well, what I said to him was, look," I said, "can I have some discretion about what movies I do if I sign this contract?" It was a 3-picture deal, and one of the movies was going to be a TV miniseries called Studs Lonigan, which I ended up doing. But then beyond that, there were 2 other films that I was signed up to do, and I knew what those 2 were going to be. But I just said, can I have some say in what movies I do? And he said, "Oh, well, you know, we'd never make you do a movie you didn't want to do." And I said, "Well, that's great. Then just, you know, just put that in the contract, you know, that I can have some say." And he said, "Well, we can't put that in the contract." But he said, "I promise you that you'll never have to do a movie you don't want to do." But I knew already, because I knew somebody there, that they had me ready to do these 2 movies. And I said, once again, I said, "Okay, if you're willing to, you know, give me some discretion about this, can you just throw a few words that kind of indicate that in the contract?" And he said, "No, I can't do that. You know, I can't. It wouldn't be a contract." He said, if I put that language in. And I said, "Well, in that case, I'm leaving." And he said, "Well, we love your work so much that whether you sign the contract or not, we're still going to be working with you, you know." And I walked out of the room, and I didn't set foot on the Warner Brothers lot for 13 years after that. So.
Yeah, one might say that's a mistake, but you do not.
Well, but then I do not, because, you know, there's a great story of the white horse, and you may know the story about the white Arabian stallion, the trader in the Middle East hundreds of years ago. One day a white stallion appeared out in front of his compound, and it was the most beautiful horse anyone had ever seen, and the whole village came, and he opened the gates, and the horse went into his compound, and the whole village celebrated and said, "Oh my God, what a beautiful white horse. Allah has given you this extraordinary gift. You know, you are a blessed man. You're a blessed man." They had a big party that night, and the son came out and said, "Father, can I ride the white horse?" And the father said, "Well, if you can tame him, you can ride him." And the son got on the horse, and the horse bucked the kid off and shattered his leg. Basically, you know, destroyed the kid's life. The whole village said, "Oh, what a curse Allah has given you. This is a terrible, terrible thing that has happened to you. This white horse is, you know, such a horrible event in your life." And the next day, the Assyrian army came through and conscripted all the 18-year-olds for a suicide mission. And the boy couldn't go because he had a broken leg. And everybody came and said, "Praise Allah has given you this great gift, your son," you know. And so the story goes on and on and on like that. And that really is, you know, to accept these decisions that we make in our lives and know that, you know, and not to second guess them, because that decision led to other things in my life that have been great gifts. And had I signed the Warner Brothers contract, I probably would have become a huge movie star. and probably would not be sitting here with you. I would be more than likely a drug addict, dead. Who knows? I don't know what would have happened. I probably couldn't have handled it. Well, whatever, for whatever reason, I didn't sign that contract, and instead, I did a movie called Clash of the Titans with Laurence Olivier, and met Ursula Andress, and I have a son with Ursula, who's one of pride and joy of my life. And also, in the process of doing that movie, I met a man in Rome, a nuclear physicist, who then turned me on to an idea that he had that has given me my life's work, has given me the one thing in my life that has given me more joy and more incentive, more inspiration than anything else. And had I signed the Warner Brothers contract, I never would have met that man. And as a result, I started a company in 1997 that is working on a new way to make electricity that is completely pollution-free, that will be able to satisfy the global thirst for energy for the next 20,000 years and mitigate global warming, mitigate our need for fossil fuels, and be the kind of answer to the entire energy issue in the world. And that's something that, had I signed the Warner Brothers contract, never would have happened.